Hey, what up there, newsies? Glad to be back with you. And yeah, it's been definitely a crazy couple of days. If you've probably already heard by now, right, that there was escalation by Iran um, over in Israel, where I believe like over 200, 250 rockets were shot over Israel. I think at least one of them landed in Tel Aviv. This was also after a mysterious mass shooting took place in Tel Aviv. Now, I don't know if these two incidents were related or if these are two separate incidences. I don't think, at least from what I've seen, I haven't seen any news about that. But I wanted to talk about something that you might have missed in the midst of all of that's just been going on lately, right? And that would be the 24th anniversary of the killing of 12-year-old Mohammed al-Durrah. 12-year-old Mohammed al-Durrah. So on September 30th, 2000, this was during the Second Intifada over there in Gaza, which was the second uprising of Palestinians in Gaza against, their occupiers, right? Israel. And this really caught my attention because I kept seeing this image, um, or I came across this image on social media, and it was this photo of this Palestinian man grabbing onto his screaming child, trying to protect him um, from what was apparently snipers. And as I'm reading more about this, I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I stumble across this tweet from the state of Palestine, which read that, quote, on this day 24 years ago, the world watched helplessly as Jamal al-Durrah tried to protect his 12-year-old son, Muhammad, from Israeli bullets that rained down on them in Gaza for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Continue on with the quote. Despite pleas, Israeli soldiers intentionally shot Muhammad in the stomach, whose final moments of fear and horror were caught on camera and streamed by France TV, and injured his father. Muhammad became the defining and haunting image of the Second Intifada. What struck me so much about this is, I'm not going to put the video up. YouTube would obviously shut that down, but there's the video of his of Muhammad's death, his killing, his murder. Is up. It's on the. You can find it. It's not that hard. It's on social media. It's on Twitter and all of that. Um, and the agony of not just Muhammad, but the agony of his father trying desperately to shield his son from Israeli snipers who just wanted to take him out. And I had not heard of this. There's so much, like, mind you, I don't expect, at such a young age to have, like, you don't know everything that happens going on in the world, but it's just so symbolic of like how much of this I think that from a Western perspective that we just don't see. We're just not taught. We're even now, we're being conditioned, especially young people. Or they're conditioned when we say, oh, October 7th, October 7th, October 7th. Well, if you're a young person today, and if you grew up if you're under a certain age, you might think that, oh my gosh, October 7th is when all of this started. Now, mind you, young people, particularly in the West, um, know better. But I'm talking about, like, if you're a child, right? Like, you'll hear October 7th probably so much, but you won't hear anything from the likes of Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, whoever, um, about how this has been going on for years and how Israel has been oppressing the Palestinians for 76 years. Some might argue, like, if you Google and research some of this history, even though the Nakba was in 1948, the shenanigans were starting before 1948. But that's a whole other topic, whole other video. Um, but yeah, I had no idea about this. I am ready. I readily admit that, and it just it just really, really reading up on this. Um, it's sad that this child, like 24 years ago, a 12-year-old's life was robbed from him by the Israeli state on live TV. And does Western media talk about that? Does Western media commemorate that? Al Jazeera commemorated it when it was the 20th year anniversary. I'm looking at this article now. Um, but yeah, it's just the whole story there is really horrible. You know, if you really want to read more about this particular incident, I suggest you check out Al Jazeera's article from September 30th, 2020 by Talal Abu Rama. The title of that article is Behind the Lens, Remembering Muhammad al-Durrah 20 Years On. And it's Talal Abu Rama was actually the cameraman who shot the video. Um, and it's just a really tragic reminder that whatever we see happening now did not start on October 7th. And that's not meant to detract from the pain and the horror of October 7th, nor is that meant to detract from any of the Israeli deaths and tragedies that they've suffered as a result of these ongoing conflicts. At the root of this problem, the root of all of this, is the oppression and the destruction of the Palestinian people that Zionism and ultimately, truly, the West's greed and wanting to have a foothold in the region has brought. Um. So yeah, it's just a very unfortunate. It's just I don't know, man. I don't know. There's also video of Muhammad's father, um, Jamal al-Durrah, from October of 2023, so just a few weeks after October 7th, saying goodbye to his brothers who were at that point also killed in the conflict. Here's a video of Jamal saying goodbye to his brothers. Um, you know, 24 years later after the Israeli state took his son. الله يسهل عليك الله يسهل عليك السلامة يجهزوا لي مكان جنب الله يرحمه يرحم جميع شهدائنا يا رب وربنا يصبرنا يا رب مع السلامة مع السلامة all of this is so heartbreaking and it's infuriating too, because it's like I'm embarrassed at how much like I didn't know. Right, I'm embarrassed that like all this oppression was going on, that the United States was funding this. Canada was funding this. Britain was funding this. Germany was funding this. The quote unquote West was funding this. But especially America was funding this. It really just it to say it leaves a bad taste in your mouth is mm, it doesn't even begin to cover it. It doesn't even begin to cover it. Um, I also want to highlight here really quick. Here is a tweet from writer. Um, Here's a tweet from writer Bassem Sayad. And apologies if I got her name wrong. Bassem is a writer who is an artist and writer born in Beirut. And her work, according to her, looking from her at her website, her work explores notions of historical rupture, spontaneity, and surplus through film, performance, and sculpture, alongside essays and fictions, alongside essays and fiction. Her work has been presented on screen at MoMA, Bassam Bayinel, the Swiss Institute in Rome, and just a lot of other places. Check out her website, bassemsayad.com. But she had posted an interesting tweet, and this is back on October 15th in 2023, saying in relation to about Jamal al-Durrah. And she says here, quote, imagine losing a son and becoming a face for the massacre of Palestinians by the Israeli state to an entire generation, only to lose two more this week. That'll be Jamal's brothers. Finishing the quote, she says, who knows what Jamal al-Durrah has been through since 2000? Unimaginable cruelty. Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine that. I wouldn't want to imagine that. I definitely wouldn't want to experience that. And there seems to be a higher value placed on Western lives, on American lives, on Israeli lives, particularly Israeli Jewish lives, um, as opposed to like Arab Israelis who also live in Israel. I think they're like 20% of the population there. Um, but yeah, there seems to be a higher value placed on Israeli lives, Israeli Jewish lives. Um, but Palestinian lives matter just as much. Congolese lives matter just as much. Black American lives matter just as much. Taiwanese lives matter just as much. Chinese lives matter just as much. Uyghur lives matter just as much. Guyanese lives matter just as much. Dalit lives in India matter just as much. You see where I'm going with this? Do you see where I'm going with this? No human life is worth more or less than another, but yet that's somehow how we treat it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Um, with all of that, what can you do about it, right? Because what do we do here at this channel? We don't just present you the news. We want to talk about what you can do about with the knowledge you have. So, what can you do? Well, one of the things you can do, stay informed. Um, when you see things like this, go ahead and research them, right? Like I said, you could check out that article, a really good article from Al Jazeera English, like I said, titled Behind the Lens, Remembering Muhammad al-Durrah 20 Years On. It's a great recap from the gentleman who recorded the entire thing. You can stay informed that way. You can also, honestly, if you want to, um, uh, um, sometimes it feels like, what can you do? Keep reaching out to your Congress people. Tell them that you want a ceasefire, that you don't want to support this. You don't want your tax dollars going to support it. Kamala Harris, I think, just gave a statement the other day saying that the United States is going to stand by Israel. All the politicians are coming out. Mike Pence put out a tweet saying America stands with Israel. Reach out to your Congress people, your representatives, your senators. If you are voting for Kamala Harris, if that is your chosen candidate, and if you go see her at a rally or you get a chance to talk to one of her campaign folks, tell them that, yeah, I want to vote for you, but say you also demand a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire, and that you don't want your tax dollars funding this. You can do both. You don't have to be like, I'm voting for Kamala Harris, but then I'm not going to make any demands regarding the genocide in Gaza, and which is now spreading into a ground invasion in Lebanon, attacks in Iran, attacks in Syria, because they're trying to make this greater Israel thing. Like you can demand things for your vote, even if you're still going to vote for Kamala Harris and the Democrats, regardless. You can still say, I don't want my money or my tax dollars going to this. I don't want us to walk into World War III. I do not want me, my loved ones, my children, my neighbor, whoever, to be drafted into yet another forever war for nothing. Like, you can make those demands of her and her team before you vote. It's okay to do that. Even if you're already going to vote for her, you can demand that. You can make noise for that. Like, you don't have to do one or the other. If you're going to vote for her, fine. But like, Y'all can ask her, don't to not fund this mess. Enough is enough. Enough is freaking enough. Anyway, that's all I got for right now. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe. Don't forget to leave your comments down below. And heck, if you're a praying person, pray for the family out the al-Durrah family. Pray for Jamal al-Durrah, who's obviously gone through so much heartbreak, losing his son and now his two brothers. Pray for that whole family. Pray for all the people of Palestine. Pray for the people of Lebanon. Pray for the Israelis, because like counter the popular belief or the belief by some is like no one wants to see a bunch of dead Israelis either. Nobody, like no one wants that. So yeah, until next time, be nice to yourself, be good to others, and yeah, if you can't do that, just shut up. All right, peace.